All right. Give us our first review. What are we looking at first?
So we're going to be looking at Till, the new film from writer-director Chinonyi Chukwu. And it's a biopic of sorts and a historical drama that's based on the real life of Mamie Till Mobley, who was the mother of Emmett Till, who was a 14-year-old black boy who was lynched in 1955. And it's an extraordinary story that has unbelievably never been adapted to the big screen until this year. And coincidentally, and obviously the filmmakers didn't know this year is also when the anti-lynching law has passed in the United States, which has also not been passed until now. And it carries the name of Emmett Till in his memory. And a lot of that is because of the work and the legacy of his mother, who after his death, when he went to visit his cousins in Mississippi, a white woman accused him of he whistled at her, and she accused him of something much worse, and he got killed. And his mother, from that moment on, did not stop advocating for his memory and for the legacy of people just knowing what had happened to him. It was obviously completely dismissed in court. People continued to lie. And she made it her life's work afterwards to upholding Emmett's memory. And the film is incredibly skillfully made because it is both a character study of Mamie Till Mobley. It is both a study of grief, and probably one of the worst griefs imaginable, the loss of a child. I'm not a mother, so I can't even fathom it, but I can empathize with something so huge. And at the same time, it is a historical drama about one murder who had this lasting legacy and effect that had not been enacted into law until 2022, which is ridiculous. And what Chukwu does as a director, she's also the director of Clemency, which also was a grand jury prize at the Sundance Film Festival a few years ago when it premiered. Also another character study of a woman. Here, she completely focuses not on Emmett, who had a short, brief life, or on the violence inflicted on him, but very much on Mamie Till Mobley. And she focuses on this almost transformation of her from being a private citizen to being a civil rights advocate. And all of these spaces that she inhabits that are both very private and very public. So the film switches between very private grief and a very public grief, very private anger and a very public one. And the way that she behaves and the way that she positions herself in all these different spaces. Now, all of that leads to one thing, and it's a performance. And Daniel Deadwyler, who plays Mamie Till Mobley, is, I think, arguably one of the best performances of the year. Wow. She carries the entire film. She's in almost every single scene. There's a moment, and, this is not a spoiler, this is history, you can Google it, but perhaps it's more known to American listeners than it is to British ones. And there is this one particular scene, and I think it's I interviewed Chinonyi and I asked her about the scene, and she said that she'd also done it in Clemency, and she spoke about the way that she works with actors, which is she doesn't really tell them in advance that she's planning the shot. She talks to them about the emotional journey. She doesn't talk about her directorial choices. And there's this one scene where she keeps the camera as a close-up on Danielle's face as she's doing the deposition, where she's being questioned whether her son was actually murdered or whether he had done something to essentially invite violence. And this is an all-male space. This is an all-white space in Mississippi in the 50s. And instead of panning to anyone else's faces, she keeps it completely on her. And this is about a 9-minute shot. And it's all on this actress's face. Just every single muscle in her face is twitching with emotion because she has to say things. She has to say them very clearly. She knows exactly the weight and the eyes that are on her. At the same time, she has this insurmountable grief of her child being lost and also her child becoming this sort of symbol for many people, which is also a choice that she's made for very valid reasons. But at the same time, that has put so many eyes on her. So all of that is compressed in 9 minutes on this really tight close-up shot on her face. That shot alone is worth the price of admission for this film, because you're seeing an actor work so beautifully and so subtly while also handling the pressure of political legacy and the pressure of cultural legacy, of what the name Emmett Till means to people and what the figure of maybe Till Mobley means to people. At the same time, doing a very, very humane portrait of a woman who has lost her son.
Oh, we've got a little clip from this movie, and I'm fascinated to hear/watch. Yeah.
It's a beautiful film, and
I can't wait to check it out.
And I had the privilege of the screening I went to see it at, had a Q&A with two of the producers, Whoopi Goldberg and Barbara Broccoli, very well known for being the producer of the Bond franchise.
Yeah, that's quite an odd fit.
And they had been working together, and they had been wanting to produce this film for years. So they've been trying for a very long time to make this film, and it hadn't happened until just now. And it's both a beautiful coincidence comes out at the same time that the law has passed, and there's and at the same time it's really unfortunate. And I think that is the thing when it's showed as text at the end of the film, where everybody in the audience that I was in did a collective excuse me.
Yeah.
Excuse me. 2022.
Yeah. But, you're right, how timely. And, we often look at these things as ancient history, especially if you're younger. It just feels like a completely different, a whole different world, a different universe almost. But, if Emmett Till wasn't murdered, he could still be alive quite easily.
Yeah.
Right now, talking about this stuff.
And one of the things, the last thing I want to say about this film is that we overuse the word visionary a lot when we talk about directors.
Oh, definitely.
But I think there's something so precise about the way that Chinonye Chukwu uses the camera in this film that really signals a director who knows exactly what she wanted to say with the film. She had a very particular point of view. She wanted to talk about the inner and the public and the private life of maybe Till Mobley. She knew that the woman, the mother, was the film, not Emmett himself. And that's what she focused on. And all of her camera choices, her directorial choices, the performance choices support that. And that's what I think makes a visionary director. Maybe
we should call her the queen of specificity, because visionary, I think, is gone now in cinema. The only time you see it is when they're really desperately trying to sell a really crap sci-fi. So they'll say, from visionary director. You're like, yeah, he might have been at some stage.
Visionary means big.
It just means it's a big epic thing. Please come and watch it.
Thanks very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as we enjoyed making it. While you're here, check out all the other videos because they're cool too, aren't they?
Yeah, and if you want to keep up to date with everything Kermode and Mayo's take, then check out our social channels.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
I mean, I would. I have done.
Excellent.